Welcome to the Cancer Journey podcast. I'm Alicia.
And I'm Sherry Ann.
So, today's episode, we're going to be talking about how changing your perspective changes the trajectory of your healing. We know that healing isn't linear, but changing your perspective can become a big part of um, your story. So, let's start with Pesh and get grounded. I'm going to go first. Okay. Physically, I am a 4.2. Emotionally, a 4.4, spirit is a 4.35, and hope is a 4.25, and my word is collecting.
Okay. My Pesh. Physically, 4. Emotionally, 4.25. Spirit, 4.35. Hope, 4.4. And my word is possibility.
So let's go ahead and go right in. I mean, I think it can feel like a really big thing to say that changing your perspective changes your healing. And I mean, I would go as far as to say it improves, sometimes speeds up your healing.
Well, first, I want to start off with the whole concept of perspective, that we're always in a perspective. We may not know or think that we're in a perspective, but whatever lens we're seeing our life through or our situation through, it's a perspective. Doesn't mean it's necessarily true. We've talked about assumptions and stories, and it doesn't mean that it's not true. It is just a perspective, a way of seeing a situation. So when we bring it to the cancer journey, especially the cancer treatment journey, or just from diagnosis to through the treatment part of the cancer journey, we're ebbing and flowing, right? First, it's shock and awe, disbelief, maybe denial is the lens that you're seeing everything in. So the perspective is deny. No, no, that's not true. That couldn't be happening. To all right. So it's said. So it is proven with the tests and the scans. So how do I want to be? And being is also the perspective. I'm going to be the warrior. We hear that all the time with the ribbon movement. Or I am going to be the best patient they've ever had, hopefully improving my chances of making it through treatment well. It is how we're looking at and showing up as in this particular situation.
I love the point of like, we're always in a perspective because your perspective, even though maybe you haven't looked at like the way you view the world, sometimes we're very much in that space of like, well, this is my perspective and this is what it is. And that has a lot of rigidity to it when actually we have the choice to change your perspective at any time, as much or as little as you want. You can try on a different perspective. I mean, we know there's that like walk a mile in someone else's shoes kind of thing, and it does broaden your perspective. It allows you to take on other ways of thinking that maybe you hadn't thought about before. Um, and to recognize the perspective that you're in before you got your diagnosis versus the perspective you're in now that you have your diagnosis and how that diagnosis has impacted your outlook on life. It's a really important thing to acknowledge and kind of stop and be like, this is what is true for me right now. This is what's true for me in this moment. And I have the power to change that if it is limiting. And I don't expect everyone to do it on their own. I think that you should do it with a coach. Truly, you should do it with a coach who can really lead you through and walk you through like there are many different perspectives, and that way you're not alone in figuring it out by yourselves. And we do say that this improves your healing because we know that on a very, very basic level, because Sherry and I are not scientists, but at a very basic level, if your perspective is limiting you and it's stressing you out, you have more cortisol building up in your system, and your body will be focused on just maintaining instead of healing you as a whole. So the more stress that you're holding, the less your body is able to really focus the needs of the healing that it can do, the magical healing that it does in your body on your cancer. And it's just trying to like get you through the day, each day at a time. So when we're able to unload that stress and view a perspective, and this is where some of the like can and cannot control stuff comes in, because when we start to relinquish what we cannot control, our perspective starts to change too. So well, there's just so many CGI tools that go into it, but at its core, what we know is when you do change your perspective into a space that is more accepting of the space you're in, more compassionate for the journey that you're on, much more forgiving and understanding of just this space that's new to you, you are able to then move into a place where your body can just, okay, we're safe, we're safe, we're safe. We can heal now.
Right. Oh, you've said so much. It's what I want to mention is, I mean, we're explaining perspective because I think it's really important, because a lot of times people are not aware they're in a perspective. You said it yourself. You said this is just how it is. While that may feel true in some situations, it is not true, because once you change your perspective, I'm trying to think of another way to say that, your picture and how you be in that particular space you're talking about, everything does change, surprisingly. It is kind of that phrase they use, seeing the world through rose colored glasses, does give it a different hue, a different tint, a different viewpoint. But what I want to caution against is, when somebody's on their cancer journey, there's going to be ups and downs. And a lot of people have said, well, I just want to stay positive. I just want positivity all around me. There is such a thing as toxic positivity. And we don't want that. That is forced positivity. It is the extreme of positivity. It's like, no, 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 I can't feel any sadness. No, I can't feel any fear. I can't, there's this rigidity that you were talking about of, no, I can't have that, only want to be positive and joyful and the expansive emotions as we speak it. That's impossible. You are not a being that only lives in expansive emotions. Your emotions are the way that your body speaks to you. So you listen to that to help get a clear picture on what's the perspective that I'm in. I'm in a perspective, just like emotions, perspectives can change. But we don't change them because we want to change our mind and say, no, I refuse to see it that way. That's like a rubber band. You can, it'll hold the stretch until you let go, and then it goes back to its original shape, or something close to that. It's not a, I'm going to hold it here and it's going to stay there forever. It just doesn't work that way. So knowing that, understanding that, yes, we want positivity. Of course, we want to have hope. And I don't know if we equate hope to positivity, or how that got kind of collapsed together, but there's hope and there's positivity. And hope just means there's a feeling that there's possibilities, kind of like the words that I started with today, versus the, oh, this all is done, doom and gloom. So
Hmm.
I just want to caution us into that striving for positivity. And of course, you're talking to the person that has positivity as their number one strength. It's my go-to, but that doesn't mean I'm always positive. I could
Yeah.
see the good side of a situation. That's my strength, that's my gift. But I can also be in what feels like it's really true right now. I'm sad. I'm disappointed. And being able to be with that sadness and that disappointment will help me change my perspective to what is more healing and more helpful for me.
I'm really glad that you brought up positivity and that perspective of it, because a lot of times when cancer is on the table, people want to only focus on the positive, right? And they say, like, oh, let's just stay positive, 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 positive. And I think you're absolutely right that there is toxic positivity and there's this mix with hope, and like this can feel like they all fall into the same bucket, and maybe they're all in the kind of the same category, but I would say it's more like there's toxic positivity, there's positivity, and then there's hope, Toxic positivity is that like neglect for anything negative, that complete like I'm gonna be ignorant and pretend that none of that exists and like happy, 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 which is actually really it shuts down a whole part of you, right? Like you sometimes toxic positivity, it's not just to yourself, it's with other people. And so when you're trying to extinguish some of the like negativity, and I don't think it's negativity, it's just like things that feel hard for us, um, it really shuts down a whole person. It can shut down a whole real part of your human emotions that is quite unfair and that will be suppressed but will eventually need to be expressed in some way because you're holding on to that instead of communicating that or putting that somewhere and letting it releasing the energy of that. You're holding it inside of you and it has vibration, so it's going to stay there until it has a place to escape. So I feel that is toxic positivity. Positivity itself is definitely like look on the bright side. I think that there's forcefulness in the toxicity of positivity, that category, but like positivity itself, that can be a little more like kumbaya. I'm not going to take that on. Whatever. I can push that to the side. It's not that big a deal. So it's not the same as like ignorance. I think there's still some recognition, but it's a choice to not still give that an outlet, and it's less of a like shh, be quiet, I don't want to hear it. It's more like, okay, you can think that, I'm just going to be over here not thinking about it, but that's for you. And that's kind of how positivity feels in this space. And then I feel like hope, to be hopeful is to absolutely recognize and give space for things that are uncomfortable and things that are negative or bad or constricting, because you have hope that it will get better. And it's that vision, that outlook that there is a future, that something is better, or that something else in your life can rise. Maybe it's like your relationships, the like value of the connections you have, that kind of starts to offset how awful everything else might feel. And so hope is a much more expansive to me because it it includes those um uncomfortable places, and it goes, it's okay to feel this way, it's okay to feel sad and upset and hurt and disappointed and frustrated and angry and furious and all of these things, and be like, and there's still a place for hope. Like I'm going to let myself have those things, and it could swing at any given time. And so it's less of a like, oh, I'm just gonna hold on to hope. I'm just gonna hold on to hope and cling to it for dear life, which sometimes positivity can feel like. It's like that's the only way to get there. But really, it's just this like, yeah, things are bad. I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna cry a little bit, and I'm hopeful that that will help me. Like there is this swing and this very understanding, like very safe space that hope brings, whereas positivity feels so one-sided. It's a spectrum. It's not positive and negative. There's so much in between, and we can hold all these emotions at the same time. So if we're clinging desperately to any sort of positivity, we're suppressing anything that feels uncomfortable, and it still needs to go somewhere. So I love that you brought that in. And I think that's really important when it comes to cancer, because people so often are like, I'm just going to stay positive and I'm just going to like completely shut out anything that could hurt my feelings. You can't hurt me. Um, and maybe that's not always how it shows up for people, and they're still using the word positivity. I just think that we should use the word hope so that we can still embrace and express and scream into a pillow when we're angry, be like, oh, that made me feel better. That really made me feel better. And that's hopeful.
Exactly. It is being with what's here and showing up, but realizing that it is a perspective, that you're not stuck in it. It's not a hole. You're not stuck. It's not the way it is. So you have no power within it. What we're saying is perspective actually gives you power. It gives you permission to be in the perspective that you're in. And if it's a constricting emotional perspective, like doom and gloom or hopelessness, it's okay to be there, because when you were talking about it, it felt like the toxic positivity, when you said it, all of a sudden your body got really tense in the holding. There is nowhere for the natural flow of healing, which our bodies will do in that holding. And so part of our jobs at the Cancer Journey Institute is to help individuals really notice what's going on inside. Because if you're holding, it's almost like holding your breath. Right? It's like you're inhibiting regular body functions. And so, what we want you to do is, if it is the disappointment perspective, then be with it, and we'll stand there and be with it with you, and you'll notice it's kind of like letting the air out of a balloon. It's like, oh, I've been holding it in for so long, and just being able to go like, ah. And then what happens? I'm tired. Yes, you're tired because you were just holding, and that holding is hard. Takes a lot of the energy that can be given back to your body doing its healing job. So, what we're saying is, when you're being with the perspectives and then choosing one that brings you lifted, brings you open and lighter, because you've processed that other one that we thought I can't be in, or it's taking me down and I'm stuck in here. It's that unsticking, it is the unholding, it is the being with, so that you can shift to something that serves you better. So
Yeah.
I know this is a lot to say, but it's like, let's just all go, "Yeah."
And as you say this, what resonates for me is the making space. Like, let's make space for all of the emotions that you have. A lot of times when cancer's in your life, when there's a cancer diagnosis, when you're dealing with cancer in any part of your life, your emotions start to feel swirled, right? And so as you're trying to get out of that swirl, sometimes we're trying to remove negativity because we think then the space will be taken up by all positivity. And so we're suppressing the like bad emotions. There are no bad emotions. You're a human. You experience all of them. There's space for all of them. So you're in this container where you're trying to push down these things that really need to be felt and trying to fill it with this positivity. And it feels really toxic because positivity does not need that much space. It can have space, but it doesn't need to take up all this space and push down everything else, especially the ones that are like hurting, really, really hurting, and need to be heard. Like, I'm really angry that I have cancer. Like, you absolutely get to feel that way. And you don't have to justify it. You don't have to qualify it. You can just say, that's it. I'm angry. I'm just angry about it. And to even, I mean, there's so many ways to express it, right? You can say it, whatever. But when we start to make space for it, it can then start to deflate on its own, you know what I mean? Because the energy needs to take up space. It needs to be really felt. And then it can be like, okay, now what else is there? So that's why expressing becomes so important. Whether you journal, whether you talk to someone, whether you put that energy into um a painting you're doing and just you paint what anger feels like right there, it releases it. It releases
Mhm.
some of the tension of that energy, and then you have so much more space for all of the emotions. So you're not dominating any specific emotion, but you're able to really feel them. And then you can start to not only when you release that energy, yes, you feel tired, but then there's so much space for all of this other stuff. And it's almost like when you're frustrated and you're hot, right? And you're like, things are coming out of my mouth that I cannot control. And like, I don't know what I'm saying. I'm seeing red, blah, blah, blah. And that comes out. Or like you're crying, you have like a really, really, really hard cry. You're bawling, you're like convulsing, you're crying, you're getting it out. And as those soften, you're like, okay. And now I can be kind to myself because I really needed that. And just to make space for that is so important. Um, and I know this is slightly off topic, but still on topic with perspective. What I wanted to say was also another way to think of perspective is your mindset. It's a reframe of all of those. It is what we sometimes call parts of your essence formula, being like your strengths that you see through, and your experiences, and it's so much that goes into your perspective. But um the most important part here is that you need to recognize that you are in one and what is true. So if you have a negative ego that's really loud and trying to protect you, um, it also might be really hurting your heart and saying kind of mean things to you that aren't true. And so, especially if that's the perspective that you're in, it becomes really heavy to stay there.
Yeah, when negative ego or a negative ego storm swoops in and takes you and only wants you to see what's not working or why it can't be better than it is. Like, let's just get stuck here. And I keep getting into the stuckness as you were talking because that negative ego storm can actually feel like we are stuck, and it's like, well then how do I get out of that? Because it's a part of me, it's a voice of me. How do I get out of that? And first off, it is letting it out, not just shutting it outside, going, oh, you go outside the door and come back when you're ready to talk nice. It's that doesn't work, by the way. I mean, I know that was a tactic that I learned back in the day, but that it still hangs out. It's just somewhere else. It's not here. It's just behind me or to the side of me. What really works is remembering what we're going for. And I think we lose sight of that, especially when we're stuck in a negative ego storm or a perspective, which we just say, this is just how it is. I'm going to plummet. This is going to hurt. This is going to be the most devastating, horrible thing ever. And I'm never going to get out of it. Can you hear the negative? You go in there, it threw in that never, and then we can go, well, you're here in the room. So knowing that it's not only what's true in the moment, which is very key. It's like the question of, so what's really true? Because now you're going to the ridiculous, but what else can I see? Because in that stuck hole of a perspective that's not serving you, and if you're not feeling it, then it's like, I fell down into the well and I can't get out, is the light. So maybe you see the branch of a tree in this dark well that you're in, and it's like, okay, I know the well, the deep, dark well perspective. I'm in it. But what's another one that I could actually reach for? Doesn't mean that you're not feeling this one, because you are feeling this one. But now it's a choice to feel something different, to use a different lens, to see it slightly differently. And if I look up and I see, the branch of the tree with the green leaves, and maybe the wind is blowing and it's starting to move, it's like, oh, let me step into that viewpoint, that lens. What is the lens of a tree being blown by the wind?
And I'd also say that, like, when you're in a place where you feel stuck with your perspective, once you've recognized it, then let's start to think about what do you want? Which I know we talked about a lot in our last episode, but knowing what you want and being able to articulate it not just to other people, but really to yourself and getting really clear on how you want to feel. Again, it doesn't need to be concrete. It can literally be the most ethereal thing, and it can be a far off dream that you really don't know that you can attain, but like go there. Say, I want to feel what that feels like, even just to know, right? It's just, it can be an experiment. It doesn't have to be, I want this and this is all I want and it's written in stone so I can't change it. Let's try something on and
Right,
see what
right.
that's like.
And you're coming back to the tree. Yes, that. And it's standing in that shoes of that dream or what you want or the tree. How does the tree feel about this situation? It's moving, it's resilient, it's flowing, it's not fighting, it's not holding. It's allowing the the circumstance to kind of flow through them, and they're going with them. And so, oh, well, that feels a lot better than standing here trying to go, no, you're not going to move my branches. You're not going to move me. Um, yeah, there's a big difference.
I'm gonna do takeaway now. So perspective is a really big one. Perspective is definitely one that it's so much easier to do with another person because it's really hard to see and separate all these things for yourself. And so sometimes having the space with someone, a journey coach, to just say all of these things, they can see where your perspective is and ask you the questions that, to make sure that they're seeing what you're seeing and reflect back everything that is true for you so that you can really get clear on where you're at and where you want to go. So, perspective really gets you grounded and it gets you really like it changes your healing because you know what's really true for you. And it changes your healing because it allows you to not just like experience the emotions for you in this like frazzled way around you, but it allows you to kind of like notice what the frazzles are and like bring them down and kind of slow them down so it's not just this energy buzzing around your head that's throwing you off. It's really this like, okay, this is me and I have control over this. This is something you do have control over, is your perspective. So it's something that we can hold on to. It feels really like ephemeral. It feels like it can slip through our fingers at any time, but this is something that's within you that you can grasp and really hold. So I think it's actually one of the most powerful things to be able to connect with your perspective. And physically, I am a 4.25. Emotionally, I am a 4.5. Spirit, a 4.35. And hope is a 4.25. My word is consciousness.
Mm, I like that consciousness. Um, my takeaway, it's going to be short, because landed for me was we're always in a perspective and we have choice. Actually, that is the biggest choice and the most powerful choice that we have, is how we're choosing to see our situation. And now, again, we gave you the whole litany of, just trying to stay positive. It's being real and true to yourself. So it's taking on a perspective that you know is serving you, and you can really stand in it, not pushing things away to get there, or holding tight, but it's like, what's here, what's really going to serve me, because that's going to be the easiest, and it's going to be the most flowing for your body, so that it can go back to doing what it's supposed to do. If you're going through a treatment, allow the treatment to be assimilated into your body so that it can work, so that it can work in conjunction, not trying to find its path because you're holding so tightly inside. And my pesh is physically 4.6, emotionally 4.5, spirit 4.7, hope 4.5, and my word is, it's still possibility.
Ah, perspective. Thank you for joining us. We'll be back next week with a new episode.
Have a lovely rest of your day. And remember, you're so much more powerful than you realize.